It was a late Sunday evening when we started driving back home. Our weekend trip had been amazing. Camping near the coast, barbecue, stories by the fire. But now, everyone was tired, just ready to get back. There were 4 of us in the car. Me, Tyler, Ryan, and Luke. We'd been friends since high school. We were driving my car, an old silver Honda. The road we took back was quiet. It cut through a long stretch of forest and then a valley before rejoining the main highway. We chose it because it was supposed to be faster, but after sunset, didn't feel that great anymore. There were no streetlights, just a single narrow road, trees on both sides. We'd been driving for hours without seeing another car. Tyler was asleep in the passenger seat. Ryan and Luke were half awake in the back, talking softly. I had music on low, just enough to stay focused. Then, about half an hour later, I saw it. At first, it just looked like a shadow on the road ahead, but as we got closer, the headlights lit it up. A white van. It was parked sideways across the bridge, blocking almost the entire lane. I slowed down immediately. The van looked abandoned. Its headlights were still on, one of them flickering. The back doors were wide open. Tyler woke up and rubbed his eyes. "What's going on?" I said. "There's a van, blocking the bridge." Ryan leaned forward. "Maybe an accident?" I stopped the car a few feet away. The bridge itself wasn't very long, maybe 30 feet over a shallow creek, but the forest around it was dense, almost pitch black beyond the headlights. Tyler asked, "Should we check it?" I hesitated. Something about it looked wrong. The open doors, no sign of anyone around. Luke said, "Maybe someone's hurt. What if they went to get help?" Ryan replied, "Then why leave the lights on?" That made everyone quiet. We sat there for a full minute, just looking at the van. No movement, no sound except the engine humming. Finally, I turned on the hazard lights and said, "All right, let's check it, just real quick." I grabbed my flashlight from the glove box and stepped out. The air outside was cold, the kind that makes your breath visible. The road was silent except for the faint buzz of insects. I could hear the creek running under the bridge. The others followed me, staying close. We walked toward the van slowly. The front door was open. The driver's seat was empty. The keys were still in the ignition. The engine wasn't running, but the battery was clearly still on, the headlights and dashboard lights faintly glowing. The back of the van had 2 large doors, both open. I shined the flashlight inside. It wasn't empty. There were a few things, bags, some clothes, and what looked like a tape recorder. It was still running, spinning slowly, but there was no sound coming from it. The tape had almost reached the end. Tyler whispered behind me, "Where are those people?" Ryan climbed up a little to look inside. He sniffed. "It smells weird." I knew what that smell was. It was faint, but recognizable. The smell of blood. I said quickly, "Let's not touch anything. Just call the cops." Tyler pulled out his phone and called 911, explaining everything. The dispatcher told us to stay put, that they'd send someone to check the bridge. We were too deep in the woods. Luke pointed down the road. "Maybe we should drive ahead a few miles." He seemed a little scared. I was about to agree when Ryan said quietly, "Wait, do you hear that?" We all went still. For a moment I thought it was just the creek again, but no. It was coming from the trees. Soft footsteps. Crunching leaves. Someone was nearby. We all turned our flashlights toward the sound, but there was nothing. Just darkness between the trees. Then a flicker of movement. A figure. It was faint, just a shadow slipping deeper into the forest. "Hey!" Tyler called out instinctively. No answer. "Maybe it's the driver," Luke said. "He could be injured." "Or whoever made that mess," Ryan muttered. I didn't want to find out which one. I said quickly, "Let's get back to the car." We started backing away, keeping our lights aimed at the van and the forest. Then, from somewhere ahead, we heard another sound. This time from the other side of the bridge. Footsteps again. There was more than one person. "Guys," Tyler whispered, "they're behind us too." We turned. Two silhouettes stood just beyond our headlights, far enough that we couldn't make out their faces, but close enough to see they weren't moving, just watching. My heart started racing. I yelled, "Get in the car!" We ran. Ryan tripped halfway, but Tyler pulled him up. I started the car before everyone had even closed their doors. As I turned the wheel, the van's lights flickered again, and one of the silhouettes started running towards us. I slammed the accelerator. The tires screeched, and the car jumped forward. We swerved around the van, almost scraping it, and sped down the road. No one spoke for a good minute. Everyone was breathing hard. When I finally looked in the rearview mirror, the bridge was far behind, completely dark again. The van's headlights had gone out. We kept driving until we reached a small gas station about 20 minutes later. We waited inside the gas station, sitting at a small table near the counter. The attendant, an older man, listened quietly as we told him what happened. He told us, "You shouldn't have stopped there. People go missing on that stretch. It's not the first time. A couple of hikers disappeared last summer too." We didn't know what to say. We just sat there, quietly, waiting. After about 40 minutes, a sheriff deputy arrived. He asked us a few questions, then said he'd go check it out. He told us to stay until he returned. We waited. Almost an hour later, he came back. He said the bridge was empty. No van, no sign of anything you described. We stared at him. Tyler said it was right there. It blocked the whole bridge. He shook his head. "There's nothing now. Maybe someone towed it away, but no tracks. The road's clean." It didn't make sense to us. The officer looked at us like maybe we were mistaken, but we knew what we saw. Later that night, when I finally got home, I couldn't stop thinking, someone from that van might not have made it home like us. This happened about 6 years ago. I was 22 back then, living in Nevada and working part-time while finishing up my degree. A close friend of mine, Ryan, had just gotten engaged and he asked me to help him drive some stuff out to his fiance's house. It wasn't supposed to be anything big, just an overnight trip. We left early on a Saturday morning. The drive was about 7 hours through mostly desert highways, so we stocked up on snacks and energy drinks. The first half of the trip went by fast, filled with dumb jokes and old playlists we hadn't listened to since high school. It was one of those long, open stretches where you can go half an hour without seeing another car. The kind of road where everything looks the same, faded signs and power lines disappearing into the horizon. Sometime around 4 in the afternoon, we noticed a figure walking on the side of the road up ahead. At first I thought it was a mirage or something. The sunlight was brutal and heat waves made the air shimmer. But as we got closer, I saw it was a man, maybe late 30s or early 40s, wearing jeans and a gray jacket. He was carrying a dark backpack and walking slowly. Ryan looked at me. "We should stop." I hesitated. I'm not the kind of person who usually picks up strangers, but there was nothing around for miles. No cars, no rest stops, no towns. The guy looked like he'd been walking for a long time. "Maybe he broke down somewhere," I said. "We can at least see if he needs help." Ryan pulled over. The guy jogged up to the window and leaned down slightly. He had short hair, sunburned skin, and a calm expression. "Appreciate it," he said. "Car trouble. I've been out here since morning." Ryan asked where he was headed, and the man said, "Just up to the next rest stop. Got someone meeting me there." It didn't sound unreasonable. The next rest stop was about 15 miles away. We told him to hop in the back seat. He climbed in, set his backpack beside him, and thanked us again. The first few minutes were quiet, then Ryan tried to make small talk, asking what kind of car he had and where he'd been coming from. The man gave short answers. "Old Ford, from the other side of the state." At some point, I turned around to ask if he wanted some water, but when he looked at me, something about his eyes made me feel uneasy. He drank the water in one long sip and asked, "You two drive this route often?" Ryan said, "No, just a delivery trip." The man smiled faintly. "I used to drive this highway every week." For some reason, that sentence stuck with me. He didn't elaborate, and neither of us asked. The silence after that stretched on uncomfortably. About 20 minutes later, we reached the rest stop. It wasn't much, just a faded parking lot, a single gas pump, and a tiny building with vending machines and restrooms. Ryan slowed down and asked, "This the place?" The man looked out the window and said slowly, "Yeah, this is the main point." Ryan parked, the man thanked us and stepped out. He stood there for a second, then started walking toward the back of the small building. I got out to stretch my legs. Ryan went to the restroom. I was about to follow when I noticed movement near the corner of the lot. Two other men stepping out from behind an old pickup truck. Both were dressed in dark clothes, watching our car. Something didn't feel right. I called out for Ryan quietly, and before I could say another word, the man we had dropped off started walking back toward us, his hands deep in his jacket pockets. Ryan came out, confused, but when he saw the other two guys, his expression changed instantly. He ran toward the car. The man shouted something I couldn't catch, and suddenly all three of them started rushing toward us. Ryan jumped into the driver's seat, I dove in the passenger side, and he slammed the doors just as one of them yanked on the handle. Ryan floored it. Gravel sprayed behind us as the car shot forward. In the rearview mirror, I saw them running after us for a second before they disappeared into the darkness. For a while, neither of us spoke. My hands were shaking. Ryan just kept driving, his eyes locked on the road. "What the hell was that?" I finally said. "Looked like a setup," he muttered. "They were waiting for someone to stop." We didn't stop again until we reached the fiancé's place that evening. The whole drive there, I kept checking the mirrors. Once we got there, we immediately called the police and reported everything. They took our statement and said they'd send someone to check the area. That night, while we were still at the house, we got a call back from the police. Their tone was serious. They told us they found a dead body behind that same rest stop, a man in his 40s, killed by a blow to the back of the head with a metal object. They found his wallet. Turns out he was a truck driver for a delivery company. He was on his way to drop a delivery, but now he was dead, and his truck was nowhere to be found. The next day, police questioned us again and confirmed what we feared. The group we encountered was the same one responsible for that man's death. They'd been targeting lone drivers, setting up fake breakdowns to steal vehicles and cargo. It took months, but the police eventually caught the entire group. Turns out they'd done this more than once on different highways across the state. Even after all these years, that stretch of road still gives me chills. Because if Ryan wasn't with me that day, if we had stopped for just a few seconds longer, I don't think I'd be here telling this story. It had been 5 years since I graduated college. I'd stayed in touch with most of my old group, guys I'd studied with and done everything with back then. Life had spread us out across the state, though. Some got jobs, others moved, a few got engaged. So when Tyler messaged our old group chat suggesting a small reunion weekend, we all agreed to come. The plan was simple. 2 nights at a rented cabin, just the 5 of us. Me, Tyler, Mark, Jordan, and Chris. No big crowds, just a quiet weekend to catch up. Tyler handled the booking through some off-brand rental site, saying it was a good deal. We all arrived Friday evening, just before sunset. The cabin sat deep in the woods, past a long dirt road with no signs. The place had an A-frame roof, wide porch, and a forest that looked endless behind it. There was no cell signal, but the cabin had a landline and a generator. Tyler had driven up early to get everything ready. When we pulled in, he was outside with a beer in hand, stacking firewood. Inside, it smelled like pine and old wood. There were mismatched chairs, a stone fireplace, and faded curtains that swayed when the wind pushed through the window frames. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm, quiet, and just far enough from the rest of the world to feel like an escape. We made dinner, turned on some music, and talked for hours. College stories, stupid jokes, things that hadn't mattered in years suddenly felt important again. By the time we finished eating, it was close to midnight. Jordan opened another beer and said, "This place feels like something out of a horror movie." Tyler laughed. "Don't start that already." But even I had noticed it. The way the house creaked in slow intervals. The way the forest outside seemed too dark, too silent. At around 12:30, most of us started winding down. Tyler and Chris went to their rooms. Mark and Jordan stayed in the living room, playing cards. I went to brush my teeth in the bathroom near the back hallway. That's when I heard it. A soft, quick sound. Something shifting in the kitchen. I froze. Then, faintly, the sound of a chair leg scraping against the floor. I walked out slowly, thinking maybe one of the guys had gotten up for a drink. But the kitchen lights were off. The only light came from the fireplace flickering in the living room. "Tyler?" I whispered, but no answer. The scraping sound came again, this time closer. I backed away until I saw Mark in the living room. "Hey, you guys hear that?" I said quietly. "Something in the kitchen." Jordan stood up. "Probably a raccoon, man. These old places always have gaps somewhere." I told him, "Then why would it sound like a chair moving?" Mark got up, grabbed the flashlight from the table and clicked it on. The beam swept across the kitchen. Everything in place, dishes still in the sink, nothing out of place. We walked in together. The sound had stopped. "See, there is nothing," Jordan said to me. Then, from above us, came a heavy thud. All three of us looked up at the ceiling. "From the attic," Mark whispered. Tyler came out of his room, half asleep. "What's going on?" "Maybe someone up there," I said quietly. At first, he thought we were messing with him, but when he heard the next sound, the creak of a slow, deliberate footstep directly above us, his face changed. He grabbed the fire poker from beside the fireplace. We stood still, listening. Chris came out of his room, confused, asking what was happening. Mark motioned for him to stay quiet. Tyler whispered, "There's an attic hatch in the hallway closet." He started toward it. I followed behind. The narrow hallway light flickered slightly, powered by the old generator outside. The hatch was a small wooden square in the ceiling, with a pull string dangling down. Tyler took a slow breath and yanked the string. The wooden ladder unfolded down to the floor. Dust rained from the edges. "Wait," I said. He shushed me and started up the ladder, holding the poker like a weapon. The top of his head disappeared through the hatch. We waited below, every second stretching longer than it should. Then he froze. "What is it?" I whispered. He just stayed still, shining the flashlight around up there. Finally, he said, "Someone's been here." We all stared up at him. "There's food wrappers. This place has been used." Mark whispered. "Used by who?" Then something moved behind us. A shadow bolted from the hallway closet. A man, thin, dirty clothes, wild eyes, lunged past Chris and sprinted toward the kitchen. Tyler jumped down the ladder. We ran after the guy, but he was fast. He darted behind the counter and disappeared into the dark corner between the fridge and pantry. "Call the police!" Tyler shouted. Mark rushing toward the wall phone. He picked it up and started dialing. The rest of us spread out slowly. The intruder wasn't moving anymore, just hiding somewhere inside that shadowed space. "Come out! The police are coming," Tyler said. We were in near darkness except for the glow of the firelight. Someone moved, fast. I heard a thud, then Mark shouting. When I turned, Mark was on the floor, holding the back of his head. The flashlight rolled away from him, spinning its beam across the walls. I dropped to my knees beside him. He was conscious but stunned. Tyler swung the poker toward the movement, but by then, the intruder was already running, crashing through the hallway toward the living room. We chased him, but he didn't stop. He broke the window by the porch with a slammed. We ran to the window just in time to see him disappear into the dark woods. When the police arrived 20 minutes later, the man was long gone. They took statements, checked the attic, took photos of the broken window. Mark had a mild concussion but was otherwise okay. The rest of us stood outside while the officers searched the property. After a while, one of them walked out carrying a small plastic bag. Inside it were a few things they'd found in the attic: a flashlight, a lighter, and a folded photo. It showed a family, a man, woman, and child, standing in front of a cabin that looked almost identical to this one. When the sun came up, we packed our things and left.